For the past few months, Israel has engaged in a different kind of war than it did at the beginning of the war that it declared after Hamas's attack on October 7th of last year. It's been fighting. It's been fighting seemingly almost with the intention of winning. And anybody who's been following U.S. policy in regards to this war will not be surprised to see that the U.S. is kind of panicking. This is not what the U.S. is calling for. Any success by Israel is met with demands for de-escalation of the situation by the U.S. And of course, the current situation where Hezbollah, which was always considered a very big threat to Israel, and the assumption was always that when the big war with Hezbollah happens, many thousands of Israeli citizens will die. Now that Hezbollah looks to on the verge of being defeated without causing that kind of damage, Blinken is on his way to Israel to make sure that that doesn't happen. The U.S. Secretary of State is coming to Israel to see if there can be some sort of ceasefire before the enemies that cause the wars with Israel are no longer able to do so at any time in the future. Welcome to the Daily Objective. Daniel, your thoughts. I know you've been talking a lot about U.S. policy towards Israel, but it's a very important topic because we've been talking about it for a year, but Israel is really, it looks like it can do, if it does a few more things, it will really possibly change the Middle East for the better. And you would think the U.S., which has, wanted the Middle East to change for the better and has only managed to make it worse, would welcome this and would encourage it. But that's not what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, again, the whole situation is terrible. Whenever I look at foreign policy, especially with or even with America, and we always hear from isolationists that why is United States supporting Israel? But America has a selfish goal here. Like, it's crazy to even think about it because again, the Iran of the modern age, the Iran after the Iranian after the Islamic Revolution has took American hostages. The Houthis have been bombing international shipping, many of them being American ships. Hezbollah have actively killed, I think, hundreds of American soldiers. Hamas is holding American hostages. The fact that this is sort of viewed through the lens of, is America going to support Israel, or is America not going to support Israel fully, is crazy. America has a selfish goal here. America has national interest here. And the fact that this is happening, I mean, Blinken, from my understanding, he is planning to travel from 21st to 25th. I don't think he has met with anyone officially yet. We just have reports about what is sort of planning to be discussed. But I cannot even imagine that conversation between Blinken and Netanyahu. Hey, sorry for leaking your plans about Iran. By the way, can you surrender to Hezbollah? Can you stop actively? Can you stop, wanting to destroy Hezbollah? And this is supposed to be a package deal, which is, well, technically, I've read the translation from Hebrew to Israel, so I'm not sure if the exact term is used. But for those who know a little bit about Ayn Rand, she had problem with package deals, and the fact that the same word is used, basically the problem with package deal is oftentimes you put in things that are basically not compatible with each other, and you sort of try to put it out as like a one thing. And funnily enough, this is not a package deal because it is surrender to Hezbollah and surrender to Hamas, or allow them to exist, which pretty much goes into the same way. Like, both Hamas and Hezbollah are absolutely on their knees. When it comes to Hezbollah, we've killed like third of their leaders. I don't even know who is, you haven't been on the episode. I think it was when I was an episode with James, but since you watched Game of Thrones, I made the reference that, I feel like I'm in the later seasons of Game of Thrones where I don't even learn the names of the characters because I know they're gonna die anyway, so there's no reason to it. And that was my feeling when it came to new Hezbollah chiefs. I don't even know who is it right now because Israel will get rid of them. We have come to this sort of to this state of the war after 1 year of slow and very much, there were very few episodes that we did where we like really celebrated something, and even those where when it came to either hostage rescue, which is a great thing, but unfortunately it doesn't bring you closer to the end of the actual war. But now that Israel is finally doing something, now that as I've said, both of the organizations are on their knees, are about to be destroyed. Now we come in to save them. For what? What is the justification to try to preserve any of these organizations? I mean, I think I'll kick it back to you just to calm down. But I have many more things to say.
Yeah, what Ayn Rand identified as the logical fallacy of package dealing. I'm not sure this would how this would fare. I think of some of those package deals, and people kind of incorporate into how they define a concept, essentials and non-essentials. Here, I think it's pure non-essentials. The package deal is surrender in Gaza and surrender in Lebanon. So in a sense, it has a consistency to it. But yeah, both elements of it are bad and shouldn't be even considered. And the timing of this, I mean, there are so many things, the timing of which is interesting in this war. We know that sometimes things are about to be announced, and you can change the timing if there's reason to, even if you're going to announce it. So Britain announces an embargo on Israel, on selling Israel weapons right after 12 kids die in are killed by Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel kills Sinwar, which is a major step. It's not enough. The Palestinian people are the enemy, as we've said, and they need to be defeated, and their culture needs to be defeated. But this is a major moment, and this is a moment in which Blinken comes to Israel and says, "Let's de-escalate the situation." No, what Israel needs, if the U.S. Would like to get involved, is some help with making sure that whatever is done next with Iran is the last thing that needs to be done with Iran. How about let's talk about not de-escalation in the sense that at this current moment there will be less shooting, but how about we talk about a future that, yeah, is beyond the Biden-Blinken term, but a future which will actually, in which the Middle East will actually be better in the sense that fewer people will be killed and fewer people will be oppressed. But no, that's not U.S. policy. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Jonathan says, Razi and Daniel, top shelf show. Thank you, Gail, for the super chat. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, hi, Razi. Nice to see you back. Been a while. Yeah, it's nice to be back, although I'm not back. I'm still in the US, but I'll be back in a few days. And thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says, Blinken has lost the plot, should stay home. Well, I mean, you don't become Secretary of State to stay home. You become Secretary of State to fly in what, Air Force Two, is that what it's called? And fly around the world and tell people not to do the right thing. That's the policy. No, the U.S. The administration lost the plot a long time ago, and I talk about, we often talk on this show about how people should go and watch the shows we did immediately after October 7th to see how much of what we said turned out to be correct. But what didn't turn out to be correct was I bought the Biden Blinken pro-Israel statements in immediately after October 7th. And turns out it was all bullshit. It was all, we're sorry some of your people died, but we will condemn anything you do to prevent future deaths.
Yeah, I mean, well, by the way, I had no idea there's Air Force Two. I just had to look it up, but apparently that's for vice president specifically. So I'm not sure if Blinken uses it. Maybe there's Air Force Three, or whatever line of succession is Blinken specifically. Uh, so when and so we've talked about the sort of support America has for Israel, and I'm always trying to find like a good example, but that sort of support, it's like Mother Teresa support. Like she won't allow you to thrive. That's just not allowed. She won't like actually let you fully basically develop, fully have a fulfilling life. No, but she'll just try to like stop you from dying. And that's pretty much whatever what you see from America. And after October 7, there was a big support because I think there was there was a potential Hezbollah will join in that attack, which I think with American support, with American deterrence, it helped basically stop it for at least a day, since they started bombing them, since Hezbollah started bombing Israel, or it might have been milder than, let's say, their full capabilities. But once it became apparent that Israel is not in this sort of like a life-threatening situation, or like an existence-threatening situation, that they knew, okay, now we don't have to actually help them much anymore. And similar to when it came to the Iranian attack, Iranian attack is coming. We'll help them. We'll use our own anti-air defenses we have in the region, just to make sure Israel doesn't die. But when it comes to destroying the source of it, when it comes to destroying Iran's capability of doing this, when it comes to destroying the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah's capabilities, and all the other militias, for example, in Syria and Iraq, from doing anything like that, no, we won't go as far as that, because it's not an immediate danger to you. Uh, Again, it shows the current like really disgusting nature of foreign policy right now, that it is just about keeping you on life support, or sort of just keeping you hanging around. And yeah, it's really hard to even like talk about it, because of how vile it truly is. uh Something I like to point out. So when Blinken was asked about what is his sort of like what are his plans, or what he wants, he made sure to when it came to Hezbollah, he made sure to mention the UN Council Security Resolution 1701, which is the one that came about, I think, in 2006, after the war, that pretty much meant that Israel would fully pull out of Lebanon, and also Hezbollah would pull out of the southern parts of Lebanon, and there would be the UN peacekeepers in the region trying to both implement the resolution and report to the UN Security Council about basically how the both parties are adhering to the resolution, and how close are they to fulfilling, or how are both sides when it comes to upholding the resolution. So Israel pulled out, and Hezbollah didn't. Israel said, Hezbollah, you should also pull out, and reported to the UN Security Council. Hezbollah is not pulling out, and the UN Security Council said, yeah, we agree, Hezbollah is not pulling out, and then they've done nothing about it. Now that Israel is actually doing what was supposed to be UN's job, when it's actually trying to put out Hezbollah from the south, we see what has been happening. Hezbollah had October 7 like staging grounds ready to attack Israel. There are UN bases like right over Hezbollah terror tunnels. It's and I haven't fully looked into them, but I've also seen some reports about some either former UNIFIL soldiers or some people out of UNIFIL saying that yeah, they pretty much haven't been able to do anything about Hezbollah. Hezbollah has not been adhering, and they haven't been pushing anything against them. And I always like to mention, when you're talking about UNIFIL, they are not some, just like a base on the edge of Lebanon, just sort of like overlooking the situation. They are all over the southern Lebanon. They see everything. They should be able to see any Hezbollah presence. And if they wanted to, they should at least have the capability of stopping it. The fact is they haven't been doing anything about this. And the fact that he doesn't even have the decency of coming out with like a new resolution. We'll put something new just for the just so it's different than the last one, because there was also a resolution before the 1701 that was supposed to fulfill similar things. No, he's just saying, oh yeah, that resolution that hasn't worked, yeah, let's go back to that. It's just, I really hope I really hope for like something better, but the fact is that sort of yeah, it's just so terrible that it's hard to even like look forward to something better.
Yeah, when you talk to advocates of the UN, they'll tell you, yeah, General Assembly resolutions don't matter and everything. What really matters is the UN Security Council, and it's situations like this where you see how superfluous it really is when it comes to promoting security anywhere in the world. So, the excuses that people give the Palestinians, and especially the ones in Gaza, don't apply in southern Lebanon. Technically, officially, the Lebanese government sitting in Beirut is the government of all of Lebanon. In effect, Hezbollah is the government of the south of Lebanon, and the government, the army of the south of Lebanon, and so I don't know if people in the West think that something like UNIFIL, the UN force for southern Lebanon, can operate just like NGOs operate. In any Western capital, you'll see NGOs, and that's not how it goes. Like UNIFIL can act in South Lebanon as long as they act within accordance, in like comply with what Hezbollah wants them to do. Essentially, that's why we see them shooting from UNIFIL, outposts, and yeah. So that's first of all the point that Hezbollah is the government of South Lebanon is important to remember when we talk about that area. No matter what the context is, uh, that is in effect what the Lebanese government is accepting. They're not doing anything. They're not. There's talks now about them going back to the south, but that's just because they want to stop the current bombardment. Um, but yeah, seeing the talk around UN Security Council resolutions is kind of a nice way to see that the UN has no real power when it comes to doing anything good, anything that will promote world peace as its supposed mission. But it also shows that why Israel and free countries shouldn't try to use UN, you know, the UN as a way to get the world on our side. So this going after, let's implement UN Security Council resolutions. First of all, you already know it doesn't work. Second of all, you're pandering to Israel's enemies, asking them for something. They'll want something in return, and that something will be some form of sacrifice of Israel's security interests. And the resolution calls for Hezbollah to be pushed 29 kilometers from the border. That is not enough. What again the U.S. should be calling for is military victory by Israel, and it's really, really shocking and unfortunate that they are not doing that. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, my brother who lives in Atlanta voted early for Trump. Well, that is Georgia is a close one, right? It's an important one. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thank you, Ori. Ori, I keep forgetting that while it's an Israeli name, Ori is not Israeli. But thank you for the super chat. And thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says UN should close down. That would be the greatest thing it's ever done. Yes, or better yet, just the countries that prop it up, for which is better countries in the world, prop it up for the worst countries in the world. If they just pull out, let's let the UN be what it can be without free countries, and see how that works. Bonnie says, in the chat. James Valiant is doing Peacock's intro to logic for ARC UK members. The fallacy of the mean explains why Blinken is evil. Pure appeasement betrays the good. And yeah, that is accessible to all members, YouTube members as well, can watch those sessions and the recordings of them. The sessions are every Sunday. Daniel.
I was just quickly trying to check what are my predictions for Georgia specifically when it comes to U.S. election. I have it as a leaning Trump currently, so I'll see how right I am on that specific state. So when you look at the so some people in the chat are talking about the specific wording of the UN resolution and basically like what it's supposed to be. And technically, if you look into it, it implies that Hezbollah should be completely dismantled. That there basically shouldn't be no armed groups within Lebanon. But whenever I see it, well, I'll start first with this. You always have to remember what UN Security Council resolutions mean. It means Russia and China are okay with that. You always have to look it through that lens. And when that is sort of in this example, it also means UK and France are okay with that, which is in many cases is not that much better.
It
But
also means Blinken and Biden are okay with that.
well, yeah, at the end of the day, yeah. And so it means these five states pretty much agree on that. And how effective can something be when you have when many of these have actual connections to either them specifically, to groups like Hezbollah specifically, or to their allies, or to their I don't know what is the opposite of proxy, to the country that is the proxy of. And it always reminds me of I recently, or some time ago, I watched a documentary about Václav Havel, which who is he basically led the Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia, where we got ourselves rid of communism and a bit more democratic era came about. And that documentary really spoke nicely about how in the words of the Czechoslovak constitution, when you look at the Czechoslovak constitution, or what is sort of like on paper, and I'm talking about the communist Czechoslovakia, they had human rights there, they had freedom of speech there, they had freedom of political parties, they had all of this in words. But the fact is, it wasn't implemented. It was just put on board so they could appease Western view, that when the West sort of tried to criticize Czechoslovak government for something, they could say, but we have it in our constitution. We do have it actually in law. But the fact is that it just wasn't applied. And it reminds me that it's very similar to this UN resolution. Like you could look at, you could say to Israel, well, look at this resolution. It says Hezbollah will be disbanded. It says Hezbollah will go away. Unified forces will be here. So even if Hezbollah tries something, you will be defended. We'll work with the Lebanese government to get rid of Hezbollah. Like it's all there. But you have to look at the reality. How has it been used, and what is actually happening? And the fact is that nothing has been happening like that. Nothing has been working like that. It's pretty much, that resolution isn't worth the paper it was printed on. It is absolute garbage. And the fact that it is being used as some sort of standard or some sort of start, what could be the possible future of the region, is again just completely irrelevant. If Blinken wants to have any say when it comes to sort of helping Israel negotiate or helping Israel with something, the fact that it's a spit in the face to start with that, especially after the recent leak. The fact that he does that right after the leak, that he even has the balls to actually go visit Israel after America leaks, or someone within the government or someone within the State Department leaks Israeli plans for Israel, for Iran, or some of the information they have about Iran or about Israel is it's just terrible.
Well, I do think we can put a positive spin on things, because generally the positive is the fact that Israel is fighting despite what the U.S. is saying, and we're seeing that, and we're still waiting to see what's gonna be done in Iran, but hopefully the fact that the U.S. is every day the U.S. is making it clear to Israel that it's not really its ally. It's whatever alliance there is kind of running on some sort of tradition at the moment, and not what the leaders in the U.S. Really think. But the world can see the results of Israel actually fighting, and the world can also see the results. And by the world, I don't mean world leaders. I mean people in the world. See the results of what following what the West is advocating, what that leads to, and what doing the right thing leads to. Because Israel has done both in this war. It has followed Western policy for the most part, and has started shifting away from that on some things in recent months. We see very positive results. I think we're going to see even more positive results, hopefully, from whatever happens with Iran. And I think this could be one of those moments that doesn't just change the Middle East. It might change the way the world looks at things like the UN. Because yes, like you said, you need the permission of China and Russia. So you have the West that's not doesn't believe in it being on the right side, and then you have anti-Western savages who are more principled in their opposition to the West, and the West is in their defense of the West. And yeah, I would think, I wouldn't say this is a prediction, but I would hope that this is one of those moments where, yeah, people look at it and say, okay, the leaders, the experts, the media, the people we go to, they told us that this is what needs to be done. The opposite was done. The world is a better place. There may be a lesson there, and let's learn it. Daniel, parting thoughts?
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I think one thing that is unique, and that is from just my understanding of the situation, and if it does change, I'll be happy to be surprised. But my understanding is that Israel is simply not able to really inflict real damage on Iran when it comes to, let's say, the oil fields or the nuclear sites by itself. So this is one time where this is not Rafah, this is not Hezbollah. This is one time where it doesn't just need sort of the American moral support. It actually needs the material support, again, at least from my understanding. And the fact that this is so clear, because you could say even from the American side, they'll just say some words about against invasion of Rafah, but Israel can just go alone and we can just play that, oh, we didn't want them to go there or something like that just to keep face. But this is the time where you cannot use that. Israel is not able to do it alone, and America is not disappointing Israel. It's disappointing its own people. It's really giving up on its own people who have been targeted by Iran for decades.
I don't know. Alex said something on the show a few weeks ago about how kind of this is the war that Israel is preparing for decades, whereas it's part of why Hamas could catch Israel off guard was the fact that Israel wasn't what Israel was preparing for. I do have some hope. There's a question on what real damage means. But I do have some hope. It could be that Israel, part of what the weight is basically they need a lot of the planes, the equipment for Lebanon, and it would take a serious pause to and a damaging pause to the cause there to do something in Iran. But I think Israel can probably do quite a bit in Iran. It doesn't have the limitations that it imposes on itself when it comes to fighting in places like Gaza and Lebanon. I mean, it has them, but they're less significant in terms of civilian population. Because what civilian population is in the nuclear weapon sites or in the oil fields or in any military base or any government
Well, the workers,
offices? What?
the workers.
Uh, no, no. If you're working on a nuclear bomb, you're not an innocent civilian. And yeah, if you're working in an oil field, well, you're screwed. Sorry, you're working in an oil field for the Iranian government. If you're working in a government building, it doesn't matter if you're just the secretary. No, you're a part of the problem. Like, you can't say, look, I'm just Hitler's secretary. I didn't kill 6 million Jews. No, you're a part of the problem. And yeah, look, I think if Israel wants to cause the kind of damage that could inspire some sort of uprising. I don't know what kind of uprising. Like, we don't actually know the numbers. We know there's real opposition in Iran. We don't know that it's enough to overthrow the regime or to replace it with something better. We don't know that there's not going to be enough. There's a lot of support for the regime. We don't know that that's not going to cause some sort of civil war. But that doesn't matter. Israel needs to do what it needs to do to protect, to defend its own citizens. And then whatever problems arise later, yeah, they will need to be addressed too. And hopefully we'll get to that point soon. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everybody, for watching. The reality show starts in a couple of minutes.